Good morning back. Thank you. All right, settle in, put your phones away. Let's get your focus up here for about 35 minutes, okay? We're not asking for 2 hours of undivided attention. 35 minutes, we have put together a strong panel here with a lot of different career fields represented. We are going to ask them some directed questions. We're gonna let them introduce themselves and tell you what field they're in and kind of what their job responsibility is within that field. Then I'm gonna ask some questions guided through, and then the last 10 minutes or so will give you an opportunity to ask some questions and to interact with them directly. So if we could have your attention, make sure that we just stay focused. Side conversations in here really elevate, and it's hard because they're speaking in mics. Their mics are not quite as loud as mine, and they don't have that very deep, raspy voice that I have. So please listen carefully. We're gonna start here with introductions.
Good morning, Senior Broncos. So some of you may know me as Mr. Joe, Campus Security, but this is a semi-retired thing I'm doing for fun right now. I'm enjoying every single day. But what got me here was 32 years in an industry of automotive repair. When I got my license, I had a passion for fast cars, fast anything really, jet skis, boats, didn't matter, bikes. So I went into automotive. I got a job at a local Chevy store, worked my way up through it, became a master technician. I was trained on onboard computers. Most cars are up 15 to 25 computers on board running them right now. ZR1 Corvettes are pushing 200 miles an hour. So for me, it was a very rewarding career. I worked my way up into management. I spent the last 16 years as fixed operations director. So I was responsible for the service, parts, and body shops at Paradise Chevrolet Cadillac. Great career for me, but that's how I got to be doing this and having fun and enjoying time with you guys, is working hard in an industry. Cars was my passion. Hopefully all of you will find your passion, but if there's one thing I want you to take away from what I did was hard work, dedication, passion is what allowed me to have success in my career so that I could retire and be here today. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Erin Paulson, and I'm a Vista grad from 2013. Oh, thank you. So, after I graduated, I went to college at UC San Diego and got my Bachelor of Science from there. And now I work in the crime scene investigation section for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And so my day-to-day duties include processing physical evidence at crime scenes, and then we also document crime scenes through the use of notes and photos, and then generate a report, which we then testify to in court.
Good morning. My name is John Pratt. I'm the Senior Systems Engineer for Murrieta Valley Unified School District, so school district here. My undergrad is in computer science. I was a computer science major right down the road at Cal State San Marcos and a physics minor. But I didn't take the traditional route. I bummed around the community college circuit for quite a while. Been to most of the community colleges around here, so I can answer questions about that, about working in education as well as in electroplating, industrial automation, and computer programming, which I did quite some time ago.
Good morning, guys. My name is Leah Reyna. I am a co-owner and founder of a corporation. We do fire alarms and lots of electrical. Starting out in you guys' sector, some people may know, my baby is one of the senior graduating here. I don't know if she's in here yet. But when I was you guys' age, I had our first daughter. So senior in high school, I had a 1-year-old and had to make some different choices. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but got my GED, started a financial business, did that for about 8 years, and then moved into a retail, managed AT&T stores for another 8 years. And now for the past 5 years, my husband and I have run, operated, and grown a corporation that we are now able to extend and bring other people into. So if you guys have any questions on growing a business and corporations, I'd be happy to help today.
everybody. My name is Amber Freeman. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. So I got my start by going straight from high school into college. I went to UC Riverside and got my Bachelor's of Science in Sociology. And then I took a year off, and then I worked with kiddos with autism, and then I went back to school, and I got my Master's in Counseling Psychology from California Baptist. And so now I work with people as young as 4 to as old as their 60s and 70s, and I help them establish different relationships with different mental health concerns. And then I also work with substance use as well.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Alex Pham. I'm a Vista alum. I graduated in 2011. Thank you. After I graduated, I went to UCLA and I studied Arabic and Islamic studies. Thank you. And now I'm a special agent with the FBI. You guys are all so enthusiastic. I love it. I specialize in counterterrorism right now, and I'm based in Los Angeles. So yeah, thank you.
It's hard to follow up that. So I'm John Blasky. All right, I was not expecting that, but I also was. So I'm currently a structural engineer for Northrop Grumman. A little bit of my. Okay, yeah, just chill out for a sec. Let me get through this. I graduated from Vista Marietta in 2009. But out of high school, I joined the Marines, did my 4 years as an artilleryman. And yep, that's my mom over there. Alrighty, so did my 4 years in the Marines, got out, went to San Diego State, got my degree in aerospace engineering, ended up landing in the defense industry, so I've worked on Predator B and C, F-18, F-35, NASA Global Hawk, a few other programs, and I eventually made my way down to advanced programs and doing stuff. That's it.
Wow. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Juliana Adams. I'm an engineering project manager at Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District.
Way to go.
That's amazing. I got a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I have a master's in public administration. I guess on a daily basis, on a regular basis, I design and manage construction of large flood control facilities.
It's pretty obvious you guys are still the most spirited school in America. I had to get some cheap applause somehow, so I had to bring that up. Anyway, I'm John Monteroso. I'm currently a Superior Court judge for the County of Riverside, but it's the first time anybody ever applauded for that. But like you guys, when I was a senior in high school, like many of you, I had no clue. I had been accepted to college, and I had to pick a major, and I had no idea. And so I just chose what I thought would be most interesting. I liked political science and government, the civics classes I took in high school, so I majored in that. I didn't have any idea that I would get into law. Even when I was graduating from college, I had no idea I was going to get into law until it kind of found me. I tried it, I liked it, I did well. And then I took a job as a prosecutor with the district attorney's office, and I did that for a number of years until I had an opportunity to go to the bench. So I only bring that path up to you to let you know that you're not unlike any of us if you still have no idea. In fact, I really recommend you not have a specific idea in your head as to what exactly you're going to do, because there's a lot of things out there that are unknown to you as you go into the next phase, whether you go to college, vocational school, or go straight to the workforce. You're going to find something that you're going to really like, and that's the key thing. Finding something you really like to do.
I might have to lie a little bit.
Be nice to him. Just, I'm going to warn you, be nice to him.
Okay, so let's start with the bad stuff. My kids went to Murrieta Valley High School.
Be nice, be nice, be nice.
But I wish that they could have come here.
Good save.
But you guys weren't built then, okay? All right, so when I was your age, I was working in the grocery industry, so I majored in management. So I took classes, finance classes, accounting classes, all that fun stuff, right? Graduated from college. And that's the most important thing. And, I was interviewing and hiring, and we always like to see a college grad, even if it wasn't in, if it wasn't focused in our industry. So if you said, hey, I went and, I was a science major, but I want to manage a store, that was fine, because we knew that you took the extra step, to go to college, and you had the discipline, and you had the incentive to do well. So whatever decisions, you guys are now seniors, whatever schools that you go to, whether it's a career ed, if you go into like a technical kind of thing. Right now, I'm a winemaker, so I would probably go to UC Davis. I could go to Fresno State, or I could go to a Cal Poly. Any of those would have offered me a 4-year degree with an emphasis in a lot of biology and a lot of chemistry, because you're working with the grapes. I thought I was just going to make wine, and all of a sudden I'm learning about the xylem and the phloem and all that kind of stuff, and the positive and negative, atoms and all this technical stuff. But I wish I would have paid a little more attention in my chemistry class. But anyway, I was a teacher as well, and I'm going to get booed again, Great Oak High School.
No booze, no booze.
But I wish I could have taught here.
All right, so you heard we have a wide variety of careers here. One of the things that we figured out as we were kind of doing this is obviously our third performance. So just like you, our energy level needs to rise. You guys are doing a great job being engaged. Make sure you stay focused and engaged, not get squirrely. There's a balance there. But one of the things we figured out here was there is a perception that a lot of us have about a particular career. And most of those perceptions come from what we see in television, movies, in the outside world. So I know when we introduced the special agent from the FBI, everyone's all, oh, and they're thinking of their TV shows. When you see CSI, you think of all those images of CSI. We have our stereotype of an engineer, a judge, so on and so forth. I want them to tell you, which we found interesting last session, what are the misperceptions of how their job really relates to the reality of their job versus what you see or the image you might have of their job. Because I think if you're interested in it, it's good for you guys to see, here's really what I do and here's kind of how the reality works. So, Aaron, you want to start?
All right, so as a CSI in Las Vegas, we get a lot of questions about, how similar it is to the show, being the origin of the CSI franchise and stuff like that. And I think, a couple of the biggest things are, first of all, the CSIs in the show play a lot more roles than we do. Something we say is they wear a lot more hats than we do. So I'm not analyzing my own evidence, back in the lab. I'm not running my DNA or, putting my fingerprints in APHIS or anything like that. And I'm not out there like interrogating people or arresting people or anything like that. So my job pretty much specifically relates to the crime scene and the evidence I collect there and documenting that, and then handling it on its way back to the lab and impounding it. But, from there, all the analysis is done by, our people over in forensics. And so I think that's a big thing. And I think, too, they really, I'm sure that any of us that, have experienced these misconceptions can say that they, television and popular media definitely glamorizes things. I'm not out there in like heels and, a skirt or whatever. Like, first of all, Vegas is hot. And like, it's not as glamorous as it looks. I mean, you're out there on these scenes sometimes 3-4 hours in the sun, and we're wearing, you know, all of our gear, our bulletproof vests, we have our duty belts, they weigh a lot, and it's hot. And, you know, you're sweaty and you're tired, but you still, you know, have to get a job done. And I think that that's something that, you know, they definitely glamorize it, and everything's done in 45 minutes, and they don't really show that, you know, these things take a lot of time, and you're out there for a long time, and it's hot, and it's a grind, but, you know, you have to have that compassion for your victim and know that everything you do, you know, you're doing to, you know, bring justice and bring answers to them. And then, you know, on the other hand of that, at the end of the day, you have to disconnect. So it's, you know, all these different emotional aspects of the job, and, you know, you have to go home and have a normal life and, you know, be with your family or people, you know, that have wives and husbands and kids and everything like that. And so I think that, you know, the emotional aspects and just how much of a grind it can be is something that's not really portrayed as much in, you know, the glamorized television version of it.
Yeah, kind of echoing off what Aaron said, you know, and I think in any law enforcement television show, a case is solved in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour max, you know. So as a special agent in the FBI, you know, cases can take years, you know. Some cases maybe, you know, take 6 months, a year, but most of our cases, you know, are upwards of 4 to 5 years, and some take 9 to 10 years, and some cases are still open now that were open 30 years ago. You know, it takes a long time to build up a good case, you know, make sure we have the appropriate evidence documented, do the appropriate interviews, and, you know, build a case so that we can take it to court. You know, it can be time consuming, it can be lengthy, but it is worth it at the end. And shows do make things more glamorous. For example, you know, I have to go through training at the FBI Academy at Quantico. There's a show about Quantico. I don't know if any of you have seen it. I couldn't bear to watch it because they definitely made the FBI Academy look fun. I did have fun at training. I mean, we did fight each other. We did have to learn a lot about guns and shooting. You know, we had to learn about law. We had to learn how to build a case and things like that. So it had its own kinds of fun, but the uniforms in the show, for example, were very nice. Our uniforms are not flattering at all. I think the food looked great as well. You know, our food is, I mean, I don't know, it was edible, but I don't know. It got us through, you know, 5 months there. And I think Judge Monroe can probably talk about the courtroom aspect of it, but, you know, I think there's a lot of emotions and drama that go into, you know, when cases are brought to the courtroom. But in law enforcement shows, it shows, you know, a case being built in like 25 minutes, and then someone gets arrested, and then everybody goes home. Well, I mean, everything that's done has to be documented. You know, everything that's done is for the purpose of building the case and bringing it to court. But then in law enforcement shows, they never really show like the end game of it. You know, the prosecution. You know, what happens to that, and also kind of what Aaron said, like the victims and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, like the others, I can't watch any program or pretty much any movie that tries to portray the life of lawyers or the courtroom drama, because it's not accurate. Sure, there's the human drama that goes on, but it isn't as crazy as television or movies portray it. You know, you don't have that in real life. You don't have the courtroom doors fly open and a surprise witness walks in and solves the case. It doesn't work like that. And the other thing that doesn't portray, well, it also portrays theatrics that are performed by the lawyers and so on that doesn't exist. Lawyers, 99% are 100% professional, they're cordial, they're not fighting with each other and calling each other names. The perception, I think, is really inaccurate. So, you know, people think, well, if you like to argue and fight, you'd be a good lawyer. That's actually not true. The best lawyers are those who are actually able to communicate effectively with people on a fair level. The other thing that's interesting is that they make it sound like everything happens in the courtroom. No, like what we heard from the law enforcement professionals, the real work is happening outside and behind the scenes. And what happens in the courtroom, what I used to say for a trial to take place, there was at least 5 to 10 hours of preparation for every hour's worth of testimony, at least, of things going on behind the scenes. And the judge is also doing preparation behind the scenes that you don't see. So just keep that in mind. If you want to watch one movie, though, that actually probably gives you the best example of what a real trial is like, surprisingly, it's probably My Cousin Vinny. So check that one out. That's actually the best one.
Interesting. All right, thank you. Can a couple of you tell us about what are the biggest rewards that you get from working in your career field? What are the things that you get fired up about that you feel really keep you attached to that particular career?
I'll take that. So I work in water resources, so that's levees, dams, channels, flood control facilities. And why I work in the public sector, I feel like I'm a public servant. I want to help people. I want to protect people. And as a civil engineer, I'm able to do that. I'm able to build infrastructure that protects people's homes. I'm able to provide clean water for people to drink. I'm able to build bridges and build homes and provide that infrastructure that people need to succeed in life. So I find value, and I'm humbled by going to work every day because I'm able to do that for the community.
I think with owning our own company, it's the satisfaction and the privilege of getting to be the one that's responsible for other people's lives. Like, we have employees, and those people look to us. If we don't continue our business, if we don't continue bringing in more revenue, then we aren't able to help them earn their wages and the money that takes care of their families, the things that they get to do, that they'll send us pictures of trips or vacations, or that they were able to do different things. It's because the groundwork started with being the creator, in a sense, with being the one that started the ball rolling. And I think that has become one of the biggest things that bring us joy within owning a business.
I enjoy the small business aspect of, a winery. So you get to work for yourself. You're not working for corporate America. It's a family-owned business. You're a farmer. You're a winemaker, but you can support yourself and several families as well if you have a big enough spread. When you look up in Northern California, where there's a lot of acres devoted to viticulture, a lot of grape growing. If this area continues to grow, then Murrieta, right next to Temecula, could also follow in those footsteps as well. So if you'd like to work for yourself, I think that would be one of the avenues that you could take right here in your own community and be your own boss.
Thank you. We heard all the positives. I think the reality would be, what would be some of the negatives or challenges that the audience might not be aware of that are in your field? So what are some of the things that could be a shortcoming or a challenge working in a particular field that you might not have been aware of before you got into that field?
Let me tackle this from a broader perspective, because I think everybody enters a career with a little bit of self-doubt. You have to have some self-doubt unless you're the most arrogant person in the world who thinks you can do anything, and I certainly wasn't that. And I remember early on as a trial lawyer walking into court feeling like, I don't belong here. I don't know what I'm doing here. These other people know way more than me, and I'm just going to get smoked. And I did. I lost a lot. And there were moments where I felt like quitting. And that was a challenge I wasn't expecting, because I usually succeeded at things. But I kept plugging away. And interestingly, years later, I read a biography on John Adams. And there was a little anecdote in his life that was really similar, where he started out as a lawyer before he became one of the founders of the United States. And one of his first cases, he went into court having the exact same feelings, self-doubt, and he failed to file some document, and the case got thrown out, and he lost. and he felt like he was a total failure and was about to quit. And I was really encouraged by that because, he ended up doing some pretty good things after that. So I tell you that story because no matter what you do, you're going to have some doubt, but just work through it. You'll get through it.
Alex mentioned something that hit home with me. With the FBI, they can have cases that are decades, in the making, and that can be a real source of frustration. At this age, you're used to kind of completing something semester by semester, or at the longest year by year. But in your careers and in college as well, you'll find yourself working in really long arc projects that can both be rewarding and frustrating. I can give you guys a local example. Since I work for the school district, how many remember when the freeway was shut down about 4 or 5 weeks ago because a semi had drug a whole bunch of electrical lines across the freeways? Well, you might have realized at the same time the internet connection went down here. It also went down at Temecula because this is a major pathway for fiber optics that connect back into Riverside County. What you don't know is that we had spent about the last 2.5 years working with a company in China devising an erbium-doped amplification solution for fiber optics that we were getting ready to install when that happened. What's that? In layman's terms, we're trying to amplify communications over fiber optics 130 kilometers, which isn't usually done in an unrepeated fashion. The net result was that an hour later, we were up on the internet. Temecula was still down because they don't have that solution. We'll be sharing with that with them soon. But it's frustrating. We had many failures along the way. So kind of it's a frustration as well as a rewarding thing to work on things that can take a long time.
How many people in this room aspire to own a business? How many people think that in that business they can make $500,000 a year? Come on, guys. I love that. You raised your hand. Those things are big. But if you want to do that, how many people are willing to sleep on a job site because you don't have money for a hotel room to build that business? How many people are willing to, when the first checks come in to your accounts, and you're excited because, oh my gosh, you've been running, you're trying to take care of stuff and pay things back, and those bounce? Do you run back and go into whatever was easy, or do you keep going in that business? Building a business is just like anything else. It's your character, it's your integrity, it's the continuing the journey. Seeing someone's result as now they're able to have a life or a lifestyle you don't see the beginning of that, the years and years of buildup and continuing and focusing, just like you guys have to do with your schoolwork, just like all of these amazing people have done with their degrees. It's not the first step. It's not that final, yes, we've made it, but it's that journey that humbles you, that you continued through, and you feel that you know that's where you belong in the end because you've gone through that process. There's no easy way to get to the end result. It's gonna be that journey. It's grinding, it's fighting, but you're able to do so if you continue to get up. But that falling down is gonna happen. Are you willing to get up?
Hey, we're going to do one more question, then I'll open it up to you. What do you guys as panelists feel is the greatest skill or quality that they need to be successful in your particular career? If we could kind of just be brief, but if each one of you could just give an answer of, here's the skill or quality that makes me most successful in this career field, that'd be good.
I think you have to be willing to be flexible. When I was in high school, I knew I was really good at math. And I only knew I could be a math teacher or a mathematician. I really didn't know what I could do with mathematics. So lucky for me, I was in the AVID program in high school. And through AVID, I was exposed to the different types of engineering. That's how I selected civil engineering. I looked into mechanical and aerospace and electrical. And civil is the one that spoke more to me and my passions. And my goals in life to protect people, right? And so I was flexible in the sense that I looked into the different types of engineering. Being in college, I was flexible in the type of discipline I wanted to go into. Do I want to go into traffic? Do I want to go into geotechnical? Do I want to go into water resources? And so at your workplace, are you interested in doing this type of work or design work or construction work? And so along the way, you're going to be given a lot of options and a lot of opportunities. And I think as long as you're flexible in your goals and the work that you choose to do, allow that for yourself, because you might set your mind into one thing right now as seniors in high school, and it's going to change next year when you go to college and decide, I really don't like chemistry after all. And so it's okay to do that. It's okay to not like chemistry after all, but try physics, try, biology, try something different and see if that's the field that you want to go into. So be flexible and adjust to the changes and the likes and dislikes that you might come across.
Yeah, I mean, to go even further to the extreme of that point, like back when I was in your guys' seats, like I put in my applications to college, I got into some UC schools, some state schools, but in the end, I was like, nope, I'm kind of done with school right now, so that's kind of what led me to going the military route. So like, I think that's kind of the theme, is like, as long as you have a passion for what you want to do, like everything will fall into place. Like there's an aspect of skill, there's an aspect of that, of everything else, but it's also like finding the path that you really truly love, and what you love to do. Like, I mean, if you kind of go down the line, we all ended up somewhere that we love, but the path that took us to get there, we were at a point where we didn't know what we wanted to do. But it's kind of like, there is that, but actually taking that step to figure that out is huge.
One thing I'd like to say is, yes, flexibility is probably the most important thing in your lives, but always, always take on a challenge. Challenge yourself, always. And if it's something that you think you can't do, then that's the challenge that you want to make. And that's it. The best thing I did was run cross country. That sounds weird, but when you run cross country, for me, you get tired and you want to stop. You don't want to run anymore, right? That's basketball practice, football practice, and I always made myself continue to run. And I took that and I applied that in everything that I did in life. And whenever I got tired, I just kept going. And that's what I'd like to see you guys do.
So I guess working for the FBI, we look for people with class. And with class, I'm talking about your guys' school motto. We look for So class has resonated with me until today. I mean, we look for people with character. Do you have integrity? We look for leadership skills. You look for attitude. Are you going to be flexible? Can you adapt to, various situations that come your way? We look for scholarship. We want you to have some sort of degree. And we look for service. Like, are you, when we work for the FBI, we take an oath to protect the American people and uphold the values of the Constitution. Like, are you willing to serve and are you passionate about that? So that's what we're looking for.
When it comes to being a therapist, it's really important to embrace your own unique experience, because that makes you who you are as a person and also as a therapist, because people are going to seek you out for those individual traits and qualities that you have that no one else can replicate. But I also feel like it's important to be ethically sound and to be able to just practice the way that that allows others to be changed through the work that you're doing.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little cliche, but I really do believe in this. I think the best cross-platform skill that anyone can have is imagination. And you guys are at a great age for that. So nurture and care for your imagination and never turn your back on it.
Yep.
Integrity. Your word from this day forth is everything. When you say something, you do it. You be honest, you be truthful, because your character Your character and the way that you represent yourself is showing through now, and people see it whether you think they are or not. People will look back on your representation of yourself through high school as you become older, whether you realize it or not. So your character and your integrity, you can start now. Even though you don't know which direction it is, be a person of your word.
So one of the things that was mentioned earlier was, and I mean, it's just, we all live in the moment, you know, as seniors especially. You guys are living in the here and now. One of them mentioned earlier, and I think all of them, if maybe you can raise your hand, how many of you have all been through an extensive background check at some point in your hiring process? So the important thing of that is, who's the only one? The reality of that is that's where the world is going. You know, the internet is great. It's given us all this opportunity, but it's also given us the ability to track everything that you've done your entire life. And decisions you're making today, you think, well, I'm just a high school kid. It's cool. I can do it. I think you mentioned earlier, she's hiring people for her company. She's going online and she's going back 5 years and looking at profiles and looking stuff up and digging dirt out to see the type of character and integrity her employees have. And more businesses are going to that. So as you guys make decisions as you're growing up and you're thinking about careers, you have to think wisely of what you do, how you handle social media, decisions you make, where you are, because you never know what job you're going to do. I don't think most of them entered the high school or college force knowing what they're going to do. And next thing you know, they're going after this dream job that they didn't know was their dream. And then they get background check and they get all this interview and stuff like that. And everything you do prepares you for that. So let's wrap up today with some questions. You guys have a few minutes. Do you have any particular questions for any of them specifically about their career? Your seniors, every other group had a question. Tell me you guys care enough about your immediate future to ask something. No one? Not one question. Okay, good. I see 2 questions. Have your parents ever said, don't embarrass me? That's what I'm thinking right now. Answer some questions.
Hi, so this is for Ms. Freeman. So I actually want to become a therapist, a marriage and family therapist when I'm older. How long did it take you to accomplish that and actually start working in the field? Because I know afterwards you have to get certain licensing and do a certain amount of hours.
Yeah, so you're correct. It does take a little while. Most programs for counseling, they're anywhere from like 2 to 3 years, depending on like how intensive the program is. I did a program that just allowed me to get my master's degree, but if I could do it again, I would do a program where I could do both, where I could do my, my master's and my PhD, because you can do that in about 5 years. But not every school offers that program. But after you, you complete your master's degree, you become an associate. And so as an associate, you're working underneath a licensed therapist. And so you work with them on a weekly basis, and they supervise your hours. And they give you tips and pointers and make sure that you're doing everything correctly and ethically. And so through that 3,000-hour process.
3,000 hours.
Yes, 3,000 hours. So that's about 2 years of your time after graduation. But it's totally worth it. Because then you're actually getting experience, and they're not just sending you out into the field and you're like, okay, so this person has this problem and I have no idea what to do with it. Because it's one thing to learn about something in school, but it's a whole entire another thing to be able to apply it.
Thank you. Other questions? Somebody over here, I saw a hand. No? There it is.
Oh shoot, that's loud. I guess I don't remember your name, so I guess this goes to climatology, civil engineer, what that does with water and agricultural. Which one of your jobs it technically required any science majors? Like what? Like how do I phrase this? When determining. Yeah. Yeah, what were your physics majors regarding your career? Thank you.
So, whoa. So I'm a water resources engineer, and so I have a bachelor's in civil engineering. And civil engineering, you take a lot of different broad classes. So we take chemistry, we take biology, we take physics, we take very specific engineering classes like concrete, steel, timber, the different materials that we use to build different infrastructure.
And we kind of talked about this earlier, especially for engineering. Like we took a lot of the same classes. We went through all the way up to high-level calculus, differential equations, structural mechanics, statics and dynamics. And then once we got to like our junior-ish year, like that's where she broke off into concretes and like structural materials. I broke off into metallics, composites, aerodynamics, stuff like that. So if you are going down that engineering path, you do still have some time when you're in college to figure that out. Like you go through all the same classes, and up at your junior year, that's kind of like the point of no return. Okay, do I really know what I want to do? This is the point where I want to make that conscious decision for what path I want to take in engineering. So you do still have some time. If you do want to go into engineering, you get through all that math stuff. You can, and you still enjoy it, which a lot of us do. Then you can you still have some time to decide what path you want to take, whether it's like aerospace, civil, or whatever.
But even within the civil, I think you asked about other careers in sciences. So there are civil engineers that work for the county, but then we also have some guys that go out and do water quality sampling. And so then they take the samples out in the field, they bring them to the lab, and then they determine the different parameters that's existing in the water. And so there's different fields you can actually follow within just civil engineering alone.
And it's not to say that engineering, getting an engineering degree locks you into engineering. Like I work with people that are math majors, that are physics majors, and they've, through their college career, have branched out and networked with people in industry. So like I graduated from San Diego. Like there's a very heavy defense and aerospace presence there. So whether or not you're physics, math, or actual engineering, as long as you network and put yourself out there and really find out what you want to do, as long as you're in that realm, that's the whole point of internships and doing, whether or not you're doing trade or like being a journeyman for whatever path you take, getting out there and really figuring it out. And I say figuring it out like it's easy, but it's not. But taking a step and doing something to see if that's the path you want to take.
You'll also figure out with engineering or some of the medical stuff, it's more of a specific major. In Alex's case, you majored in Arabic. So she majored in Arabic. Erin, and she ended up at the FBI. You majored in your pre-med physiology, and now she's a crime scene investigator. So there's a lot of career opportunity in fields that aren't directly tied. Like engineering has a more direct tie, but if you want to go into law, you can pretty much major in anything you want and still go to law school. So yeah. Those are the things that we need to expand on. So,
and just to quick wrap it up, like I graduated with someone in aerospace engineering, but he ended up saying, you know what, I wanted to go down the law path and ended up being successful in that path. So like even then you can still, make a career change.
So let's give our panel a round of applause, please. So if you have a quick question on your way out, you guys can come up, say hello to the panel, get a quick question, because you guys got to get back with your teachers. Thank you, guys.